Good morning. It is January 18th, 2025, and yes, in my excitement over the previous video's project, I messed up the date. But in my defense, it was a multi-day project. Never mind, let's move on. Today's prompts we are covering are bright and bubble, or maybe not. How about balloon? And not just one balloon, but how about a handful? You know, when I was young, birthdays were not a Disney World extravaganza. You maybe got one balloon for each year that you were born or since you were born, maybe up to age 6 or 7. But the older you got, the less razzmatazz there was. And pretty soon, when you were adult, people started forgetting your birthday. And some people um, really discourage. I might be one of those people who discourage remembering my birthday or making a fuss about it, except for my children. And one of them is bang on every year. But it's not my birthday, and it might not be your birthday. It is somebody's birthday. So not only should we celebrate today, the 18th of January, as somebody's birthday, let's celebrate all the January birthdays this month. What you're watching me do is prepare to do a little very faint bubble printing on a not white but not cream background. I know that sounds very technical, but sometimes papers are printed in different tones and still called white. Not to worry, I don't want to add any more tempera paint to get it any darker because tempera paint is opaque and I want a very translucent color for my background. So we're going to use alcohol ink, and of course the first thing I do is get it on my thumb, but again, not to worry. Alcohol ink into that same solution of tempera and water will give us the translucence that we need, and all we're using is some bubble wrap wrapped around the bottom of a pickling wax can and held in place with a rubber band. All we need to do is just get some color down in the background. Yes, I could have used the blown bubble technique, but I didn't want it to be that pronounced because it's only a background and I want it to be very subtle. So I get out the drying tool and I dry it, and I'll spare you that horrendous noise. Let's speed ahead. It barely shows up on camera and it doesn't show up much more in person, but it's what I wanted, just a subtle background. Now, about those balloons. I decided when I was designing this card that we needed more balloons. Because why not? Why not? Especially if you're a person of an age and you don't see very many balloons very often anymore. So let's lay down some balloons. I have a frame that I made out of balloons, and when I was looking for images of balloons to try and give me inspiration, I did not anticipate I was going to use clip art. But in the end, because we're using bright colors and we want this to be a happy page in our January junk journal, I decided that more balloons was more balloons, because after all, it's just paper, right? I will say that all of the elements, except for this background and one other element, got edged, not shaded, with black. And that's because we're not using any pop dots or anything like that to elevate the different elements. But I did want some illusion of depth, and we have already done that prompt, so we might repeat it, but never mind. I heard my camera clicking again while I was doing things, so I don't know if you're actually going to see all of the edging. I hope not. But what I did try to do with the balloon elements is make them look like a balloon of balloons. Let's scurry on. I should point out that if you're new here, welcome, welcome. If you're old here, you know I'm always glad to see you. This is primarily a DIY channel, and in the month of January for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, we've done paper crafts. I did skip last year for reasons having to do with another channel I host. And so, well, that's not true. Most people by now know that I did start Junk Journal January 2024 and stopped when the creation bug ran out of my feet, but it also did have to do with another channel that I host. So, welcome, welcome to all of you. Like I said, primarily DIY. There's a master journal playlist, master reference journal playlist. There is a Find Me junk journal playlist that is a lot more technical and a lot more precise because its purpose is to have you be able to have all your children's or your um, parents' vital information, including current photographs, in one place should you ever unfortunately have the occurrence of a missing child or a missing parent. I'm very proud of that project, and it has its own playlist. It's called the Find Me Junk Journal. Moving along, we also did a soap series, and we did some fermenting and some, I think we did bone broth one year and things like that. So it's not just paper craft. And I'm seriously considering returning to the master junk journal that we created a few years back because I have not updated mine in a very long time. So we'll see about that in the future. In the meantime, we're nearing the end. We're gluing down our last element, and then we'll have to see about putting it on a page in our January junk journal for Junk Journal January 2025. And I have to say that I may have to take a break since I've been doubling and in one case quadrupling prompts. When I made the little book plate that's a folio on the first page, I covered up my last week and a half of prompts. And so the front is already filled out, the first 2 weeks, but the last half I'm going to have to figure out how to include those last prompts. Nevertheless, let's again scurry on. I chose this buff colored background to contrast with the white because you're going to see very little of it. And here's one of those pages where I have that paper tape that I don't like. And I don't know how I missed it when I went through and recovered some of that paper tape, that orangey color, but I did miss it. So I'm going to take out that magazine edging and cover that paper tape and that'll strengthen it as well, because as we've talked about a couple of times now, using paper tape to do an accordion fold is not ideal in that paper tape doesn't stand up to the flipping of pages and torque on the book. Nevertheless, here is our greeting to everyone in January who celebrates a birthday, no matter how old or how young you are. The balloons are clip art, but the text is my own design based on Disney sticker-like lettering with that white border, but I also gave it a drop shadow so that everything has a little bit of depth. No, we're not repeating depth, but it's there. This page was a lot of fun. It uses bright colors and a happy theme, and bright colors are not something that I use very often. In fact, I run from them. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. God bless you. See you real soon.